Well, I'm just east of Portland, Oregon this week. I'm going to be teaching a course in this environment here, survival course for government agency, in a few days, and came out to check out a few sites and poke around the forest. It sure is nice to be around some old growth trees and some beautiful fir trees and all the greenery and shorebirds. Just incredible. Got out here is probably about 80% humidity. It just rained a little while ago. See, there's all kinds of seagulls and coots and geese that have returned, or maybe have been in these parts for a while. Beautiful country. This is the Columbia River Gorge here, and you can see some there. We'll be heading east of here, and we'll be transitioning into the Great Basin Desert, and that'll be a whole different environment there. Sagebrush and scrub, some forest still, but a little different elevation and different type of scenery and ecological zones than you see around the Portland area. So in this environment, you go out into these mountains over here, poking around, or you're going to go on an extended trip in the forest. The key things here, compared with the desert where I'm from, is you got to have really good fire making materials. You got to have your cotton balls and Vaseline, and your fire starters. I always carry 3 with me: my spark rod, my REI stormproof matches, and my lighter. And then you got to have some rain gear, some kind of good Gore-Tex, something to cut the wind. Staying warm and dry is going to be key in this environment. Shelter's not going to be too big of an issue with these massive trees and the bark and that kind of thing if you go into the backcountry. But the ability to start fire, to stay warm, to dry out if you get wet, is going to be essential. Obviously, finding water isn't going to be as much of a challenge in this environment as it is in the desert Southwest. But each region has its own challenges. So we've got this old growth spruce tree here. This bark mottled from years and years of pummeling by woodpeckers going after the edible beetle grubs and larvae inside. And then look down below here, we've got some stinging nettle. It's end of March and there's already stinging nettle here. May have been here all year, who knows. But this is a good edible plant. Usually gather the tops of these. So this portion right over my hand in the picture here. Where's my finger? There it is. So this portion right here, you usually gather up those young ones, boil those up, and then that gets rid of the the hairs, the stinging hairs, and then you can consume these. So you boil them for a couple minutes and change the water, and that'll do it. These are really high in vitamins, a good addition to wild salads. And when these die in the fall, you'll be left with these stalks here, and these are old, but the recently dyed stalks in October, November, you can gently tap those with a stick, pound them, the fibers will separate, and you can process that into cordage just like you would with dogbane or milkweed and other plant stalks like that. What a treasure to find this out here right now. Well, this area I'm in is Lewis and Clark country, at least part of the country they traveled in. This is the very tail end where they finished their trip at. And if you're a student of bushcraft, student of survival, interested in the long-term skills, I highly recommend, if you haven't done it, to get Lewis and Clark's journals. You can still get them online at Borders for a couple bucks. They're condensed. Those are worth reading. Any of those primary accounts where people are living out on the land long term, especially the way they were moving on the run, that kind of thing, is important to read those kinds of first accounts. You realize what they went through to sustain themselves in terms of food procurement, in terms of mending their clothes and buckskin and grease in their moccasins to keep them waterproof, and treating themselves in the field with ditch medicine. So that's a good one. And also Stephen Ambrose's book, Undaunted Courage. That's a good one too, but I like the primary accounts, so the actual journals written by those folks. You can get a hold of those. And regarding that, if you really delve into your area, try and get literature that was done, anthropological or ethnographic literature, that was done prior to 1940. Because things in North America started to change after 1940 when we had, in terms of the traditional skills and the way those were maintained, that's when industrialized medicine started to enter the picture, allopathic Western medicine. That's when we had the tragedy with the boarding schools on Native American reservations where kids were shuffled away from home and had to be sent far from home back east or just forcibly removed. And so you had this schism between the generations in terms of the way traditional knowledge was transmitted. And a lot of those things were lost. Some of the older skills weren't passed down in some areas. But if you can get literature prior to 1940, you're going to be able to tap into that for your area. If you can't talk to the native elders directly, that would be a good way to do it. Anything done by Powell, John Wesley Powell, headed up the Bureau of Ethnography, anything done by the Smithsonian Institute, and anything done by Alfred Kroeber, Franz Boas. Those guys, they were out in the field long term in many different areas in the Arctic and the desert. We also have Clyde Kluckholm and Leslie Spear did a lot of work down my way in the Southwest. If you can get a hold of that information, this stuff's priceless, and it'll provide you with a template, again, for improving your bushcraft skills wherever you live. I'm going to be headed east here, and going to be leaving this lush, amazing, rich forest and dropping into the Great Basin Desert. I'm going to be in the northwest corner of the Great Basin Desert, our largest desert out of our 4 deserts in North America, and I'll be in sagebrush country in a matter of a couple hours here, and then teaching a course tomorrow out there. So it's going to be quite a change, and I'm going to hit this area on the way back and cover a few more things regarding fishing methods and some gear to consider carrying for this environment. Thanks for watching. These are some old caretakers' huts run by the Forest Service now, made with local quarried rock. Beautiful old structures. Well, thanks for watching this program. For more information on our survival field courses here in Arizona or any of my books, you can visit apathways.com. Take care now.